Hello again, and welcome to Media War Stories, behind the scenes tales from the front lines of the media. I am your host, Tom Curley. How are you all today? So, if you haven't tuned into this show, we talk about old crap that happened to us when we were back in the business, the industry, showbiz. I was a director for CBS, and this guy was a reporter for Channel 7 in Boston for a long, 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 long time, Mr. Garry Armstrong. Garry, how are you
Howdy, Tom.
today?
Oh,
Uh,
did you
so,
just ask that question? How do you feel after we have
yeah, how do you.
ransacked and pummeled
We
people
have
who ask that
ransacked.
question? You, a man like you,
I
how
have
do you
a,
feel?
I have a, I have a
I
reason though.
I
I
don't
have
know
a
whether you
reason
can
though.
see this. I
Yeah.
have both of my
Oh my
wrists.
God.
This is like when we were working and we had the repetitive motion thing going on. It's come back like all villains. It's come back to see if it can get some more out of my body. Now, I know we're going to be swapping some how do you feel things. I am still, getting used to having two cochleas, and I'm still dazed. I won't say confused anymore, just dazed. The other day, I think it was yesterday, I just walked up the driveway to check the mailbox and snap a few pictures because we still have the leaf color changing up here. Long story short, for this one, when I came back up with the camera to take those photos, I I was listening back and forth, and I tried to prop myself up against a tree. Fortunately, I didn't fall over, but I was just listening, and cars were driving by and honking at me and giving me the finger, and it wasn't the bad finger; it was hang in there. So anyway, dazed on my feet. Both shoulders were killing me. Now, let me segue to we went in for our the latest COVID shot on Sunday, I believe. And since the left shoulder, if I stay with myself all the way here, the left shoulder had been killing me with, I thought, arthritis, people had told me. So when I was about to get that booster shot, I said, no, not this. This is my good shoulder, but the good shoulder is bad. Give it to me in this one. This one has had surgery and it's bad already. So she gave me the shot. And yes, a few hours later, both shoulders were killing me. The wrists were bothering me. I was listening back and forth, and I felt like when you interview somebody who has just gone through a complete crisis and you ask that stupid question, "How do you feel?" Well, I had the answer to myself. I don't feel well, you stupid jerk. But when you're talking to
Yes,
yourself, you don't really get a fair answer. But it also
that's true.
reminds me of when both of us were working across decades. How often was it that we really, really felt bad, called and in my case, I was told, well, look, unless you're dead, and that doesn't seem likely because you're talking to us, unless you're dead, you're doing right now. So they never cared about how you felt. Did you have any better luck? Did they
Yeah.
feel sympathy for you?
No, no, not really. Although I also just didn't care. No, I asked the question because I too got my COVID booster on Monday, and it
Uh-huh.
never bothers my wife Ellen. She's always fine, but me, I'm always out for the next day. My arm feels like Mike
Yeah.
Tyson punched it. So yesterday was a complete waste. My arm still hurts like hell. I'm just exhausted. And today I
Yeah.
should have been fine, but I'm still just like, bleh. And I too,
Hmm.
I don't have them wrapped up, but I don't have carpal tunnel. I have video game wrist, cause I just got
Video game
the
wrist.
new place. Yes, I got the PlayStation 5 Spider-Man 2, which is
Oh,
absolutely amazing. And I've been playing it obsessively for the last 3 days. And when I do that, um, this for some reason it's only my left wrist, not my right one.
yeah.
Um, but I'm kicking serious ass as the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Um, so we were talking before the show. Um, we both watch. I don't know if I assume most people have watched it. There's a show on Apple TV called The Morning Show with
Right.
Jennifer Aniston and Reese Witherspoon and Billy Crudup and John Hamm. It's a really good show. I think they're in
Right.
their third season, and the first season was with Stephen Carell. Him and Jennifer Aniston were the morning hosts of the number one morning show, and basically he got outed for sexual harassment and got fired, and that was taken from reality. There was Matt Lauer,
Right.
who was famous for having a button under his desk that would lock the door, and CBS was not immune. Charlie Rose got
Right.
busted for it. Les Moonves, the CEO of CBS, got busted for it. There were numerous other stories of producer for 60 Minutes getting busted, and others that I've probably forgotten. So there
Yeah.
is some reality to it, but the romance angle, not
Yeah, there
not
simply is
not not
there
so much.
simply is not enough time in that working day to do A, your job, and B, go go and have fun to the extent that it's
Yeah,
it just
exactly. So there's a lot of drama in this show. I mean,
yes.
holy mackerel
Oh
drama.
yes.
Uh, that which I gotta tell you, it's not really how it happens in the real world.
No, no, it isn't. That's why I wanted to talk about it.
Yeah. So yeah, there's. I mean, there are some stories which I am not going to tell uh, that did happen, but it's hearsay, and I'm not going to to tell.
But I still have, and 20, I think 21 years now into retirement, and people, it's great for my ego, as I say, stop me at the supermarket and compliment me or whatever it is. But they're also asking, so is is it as hot in real life news as it is on television? And generally, they're going back to either the morning show or the newsroom show. And I have to tell them, no, it isn't. I'm not covering it up. I'm not shielding anyone. It just we're there to work. We walk into the newsroom, we see each other, we say hi or whatever it is, and we're on the used to be onto the typewriter, now into the computer, and there simply isn't time for hot love affairs or whatever else they're being accused of doing that it doesn't involve the news. And people simply believe the fiction that is on television as opposed to the reality from someone who used to work in the business. It's exciting, and there were incidents, but we tell stories about things we've seen. But I have to honestly say to you, at both the local level and the short time I spent at ABC Network, I just don't remember all of this tomfoolery going on.
No, no. Although, people ask, how I have all these stories, and the answer is actually interesting. The old phrase, children should be seen and not heard. Well, the
Yes.
crew of a show is the same way. We are there, but we don't really exist. So
Right.
the politics and the drama that's going on in the back row, um, they talk about it openly, but they don't notice. It's like we can hear you. We
Hmm.
and the thing that always cracked me up is that there was two or three books that would be written about the morning news or the evening news, and when it would come out, it would go, so and so was a producer on the morning news, and he's got all this exclusive, and we'd go, who is this guy? Well, does
Right.
anybody remember
Right.
this guy? You know, and then somebody would go, oh, somebody they would go, oh, remember there was that guy who was here for like 2 weeks, and he just sat in the back and never said anything,
Yeah.
and we'd go, yeah, and we go, that was the guy. So it was just somebody who would get, you know, they would say they were a producer for, you know, for 2 weeks, and then they would leave and they would write a book, and they would get all sorts of publicity. The most drama that I can remember, and I hope I haven't told this before, um, we once we had a new executive producer that was coming in, and I cannot remember her name, but they did an unusual thing. They brought her in like a month before she was supposed to start. Okay, and
Okay.
she was observing. Okay, so now it's like, here's the new
Right.
boss who is now observing. And as a general rule, when a new executive producer comes in, they usually bring in their own people. They fire, you know, some
Right.
producers, maybe the director, but usually it's, you know, staff, writer, stuff like that. So everybody was terrified of this
Right.
woman. And they were all kissing her ass, trying to, you know, butter her up so that they didn't lose their, you know, phony baloney jobs, to quote Mel Brooks. And so, so, um, the only reason that I remember it was we had a day. There used to be three of us: Billy, Nader, Joe Marcus, who's done this show more than once, and myself. We were the three main audio guys, and
Right.
sometimes they would both be out. They were either out sick or they were on vacation. So I was doing the show, and it was one of these shows where the microphone crapped out, but it didn't just crap out. It crapped out. It was so spectacular that it made this god awful noise even with the fader closed. With the fader closed, with the fader off, it was so loud that it was just
Right.
bleeding through the mixer, and there was nothing I could do. I mean, I was trying frantically. So you
Yeah.
know, it wasn't my fault, but what they did is the management went to this new executive producer and they said, "Oh, don't worry, it was all Tom's fault and we took care of it. He won't be allowed to mix the show ever again." Yeah. So, needless to say, I did not react well to this. And then they started to call me BA Curly, bad attitude Tom, because I was just really, I was ticked. I would just sit in the back with my arms crossed and say, "Fuck all of you." Um, so so the end of the month came, and she had they wanted her to completely revamp the morning news, you know, because we were number three. We've always number three. So she came up with this plan, right? We were going to have not just two anchors in New York. We were going to have an anchor in New York, an anchor in Washington, an anchor in Chicago, and an anchor in LA. Okay?
Right.
And it was this really complex thing that she worked on, and everybody was getting geared up for it. And then the day before she was supposed to start, she called everybody, including the crew, to the set, and she sat on the I remember she sat on the anchor desk, and she went, "Well, guys, I've been fired, and I just want you to know that, you know, I had plans for this, you know, revamp of the show, and we were going to do all these things, but they decided no. So all I can say is that I've worked for only a month or so, and I've been paid more than like a $500,000. So I'm thrilled. And I want to wish you all a good career. You all seem like nice people. But I got to say, this is one of the weirdest experiences I've ever had in my life. See ya." She walked away, and everything
Yeah.
stayed just the way that it was. So, you know,
Oh, wow.
that's the kind of, yeah, that's the kind of drama we had. But there, you know, just wasn't that much sex, or at least not that we knew of.
Yeah, yeah, I
Although,
agree with you, in, paralleling or not paralleling, the, alleged sexual affairs in the newsroom with, the comings and goings of, executive producers. news directors. I people in our area or in the business up here are familiar that I put in 31 years in Boston for the TV station. But I also point out that I had almost as many news directors who worked over me. And the big news was not that they were being fired. The big news was the next person invariably was even weirder than the person that he or she replaced. And we used to try to predict or project how weird the new person would be. And we were usually shy of how crazy it would be. Going back to the alleged sexual things going on in the newsroom, again, I point out I was there for more than 3 decades in Boston. And I had vague memories, a lot of rumors, and let me just sidestep for a moment. There's this cliche that men don't gossip. It's the women who gossip. And, over the years in movies and TV shows, women in stereotypical casting have been viewed as gossips. But I got to tell you, in the TV news business,
Oh,
men can hold their own in gossips. I
oh,
remember
we
I
are the
told
big.
one person who was infamous. He was infamous for spreading rumors. And I pulled him over one afternoon and I said, listen, uh, we go back a long way, and I know I can trust you. I want to tell you something, but you can't let it get around. So I told him the story. He said, don't worry about it, GA. Don't worry about it. He walked away from me, timed my stopwatch. I wanted to see, well, how long it would be before I heard the secret that I told him. Tom, it was less than a minute. Someone else came up to me and said, hey, did you hear about blah, 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 blah? And I looked at my stopwatch and it was 54 seconds. Amazing. I mean, that's how quickly rumors
Yes,
went through. There were there.
we are
If
the.
you work in the business, whether you're in front of the camera or in front of the microphone or behind, as you were, you're a target for rumors. That's just the way it is. You're working in a business that's in the public arena, and if people know you and see you, yada yada yada, you're going to be talked about. You just have to understand that.
Of
You
course,
don't have to like it,
we're the.
but I have one thing that I meant. I think I may have mentioned all the rumors that were targeted towards me that I was having an affair with one of the anchors that worked at the station. Now, the thing that started this was that we were birthday kin. We both had the same birthday, and trying to be a nice guy, I would bring flowers in, and people saw me bringing flowers in and giving it to this young woman, and they just decided, well, he's doing that because they had a good time last night. I tried and tried and tried and said, no, we're just friends, we're colleagues. The flowers are a gesture of her having the same birthday as mine. Yeah, oh, yeah, yeah, right, right, right. And finally, I was called into the corner office and reminded that this would not be tolerated. And I would say, what are you talking about? Well, not even the alleged. I was told that the affair that I was having with this other person had to cease because it was sending a bad message to the newsroom. And I said, well, I don't know how they can get bad vibes off of something that's not happening. And then I got that knowing look that, they shake of their head, indicating they knew that I knew that I was indeed guilty of having sexual relations with a colleague. I mean, that's just stupid. I don't care where you work, big city, small city, network, local. You really have to be a dumbass to do that. They'll
Yes,
believe it.
yes. Oh my God, yes. Yeah, and again, you're right, men. Crew, we are the biggest yentas on the planet. I mean, we live for gossip. I mean, just live. Matter of fact, when I retired, one of the and I when I retired, I worked part time for about 5 years. A couple times a week, and most just to go in and
Right.
get the latest gossip of what was going on. Now there was a story. There was a story which, again, I won't name names because, quite frankly, I don't remember them. I'm pretty sure it was the morning news. Uh, but anyway, one of the contributors to the show, we had business contributors, sports contributors. One of the experts that was a semi-regular on the show was dating, having an affair with one of the producers, and it was totally consensual. There was no
Hmm.
scandal of it. I mean, they're two, grown consenting adults. But apparently, uh, the contributor wrote a detailed letter about the night that they had had recently, and she went into great graphic triple X detail of what a great
Boy.
time it was.
Hmm.
And now, I don't know if this was before email. It might have been. Uh, she tried. I don't know if she wanted to fax this to him or do something, but it ended up spitting out on the printer in the main newsroom. Okay,
Hmm.
so some
Right.
poor schmuck PA walks by to pick up a script or something, and there is this.
Right.
Wow. Well, to say that that letter, that fax, traveled around the entire broadcast center at the speed of light is an
Yeah.
understatement.
Yeah.
And I remember, now I did not read, or maybe I did. I felt bad for the person because you didn't do it on purpose, um,
Right.
and it was a mistake. But we had a thing on up to the minute, which when it started, the internet was very very new. We had a email was incredibly new. It was a thing called Pine, but the computer system that they had created to run our newsroom had built in a messaging system, like a direct message. Today we'd call it a DM, but it was new and it
Yeah.
was just amongst the computers that were in the newsroom. And when we first installed this, I was sort of the de facto IT guy, and I told them, I said, guys, this is how you use this, but understand, don't send out any message that you wouldn't want your grandmother to read. Okay? Don't. Just don't. So, of course,
Right.
one of the producers was griping to another producer about one of the anchors who they were complaining always got their way because they used their sexy feminine wiles, which
Yeah.
was true. This person did.
Hmm.
She was sexy, she feminine, she knew what to do, and she got her way. And okay, so the only problem was is he didn't send it to the other producer, he sent it to the anchor. So
Ah.
that was an that
Ah.
was an embarrassing and awkward thing. To which I went out and I said, "Guys, I told you this, you know." Um, but no, that's about the most salacious thing that I can think of. And and now there's billionaires are coming in to take over the company, and there's intrigue. I mean, I'm sure there was a lot of intrigue at the top about who's going to become the next president of news and all that stuff.
I Yeah. I'm reminded as this, and we've been devoting uh, a long time to a subject that I'm not sure we should be doing, but who cares? Back in the 70s and 80s, as news, both at the local and network level, was becoming more and more entertainment. We had a couple of papers, and one in particular here up in Boston, that were they were running a popularity contest. Your favorite anchor, your favorite weekday anchor, your favorite weekend. Same thing with reporters, and they were also following our personal lives. So sometimes you would see certain reporters sitting and having a couple of adult beverages, talking to a woman, and that would become news for the TV social gossip person. I mean, for the newspaper gossip person. And one story was written about me sitting having drinks with one of my favorite producers who I just liked, and she was also a terrific producer. Cleaned up a lot of my scripts, and it made that encounter made its way into the newspaper. And the story written by the newspaper reporter said, "Well, the news business has really changed and not for the better." Wouldn't argue with that. But it's not like anything that Walter Cronkite would do, and he's had a lot of adventures. Dot 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 dot. Well, I cut out that clipping and I threw it into my briefcase. Had that briefcase on the day that I told you about back in '76, I think it was, bicentennial days, and we were on Mr. Cronkite's boat and we were shooting the breeze back and forth. I found that clipping and I showed it to him, and he said, "Damn it, damn it! I'm Walter Cronkite, and they're still dismissing me. I didn't think that you folks at the local level had to deal with this crap. I get a lot of this." And I said, "You?" And he said, "Yeah, the name doesn't matter. They're just gossiped all over." And Walter Cronkite is the target of many, many mean-spirited and erroneous reports at CBS. And I just
Wow.
sat there with my mouth wide open, and he said, "Yes, young man, believe it."
Wow, that I never heard of. I mean, the biggest scandals with like Dan Rather was the famous some guy accosted him on the street, knocked him down,
Yeah,
and started screaming, "What's the frequency, Kenneth?" To
frequency.
which,
Yeah,
to this day, we have no idea what the hell he was talking about. But there was a lot of gossip and speculation, but none of it made any sense.
it makes Tom. It makes less sense now uh, because we have the social media. There's very little that won't find its place in social media. Back when we were working, or in the early days of when we were working, all you had were the were the gossips who worked with you and then leaked those so-called stories to the newspapers, and the newspapers gave it to the gossip people. So, in a sense, today you have to be even more careful between how how the social media can just get right to you and get it out there within milliseconds, and there's no time to discern truth from fiction, and you can see that with whether it's a politician, a sports star, a media maven. There's no way of hiding secrets, and you should be very careful about what you're doing.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. And so anyway, we did it again. Ran out of time. Sort of an interesting episode. So basically, what we've determined is that nothing on the morning show is actually that real, but it's
Right.
still fun to watch and it's a good show. So let's see how quickly we can get through the plug. Serendipity: Seeking Intelligent Life on Earth. The blog that we all contribute to. My audio theater group, Voicescapes Audio Theater, for the best in audio, comedy, and drama. Just did a show recently for the Westport Rotary Club, charity for the Children's Fund, and we had a great time. A half-hour radio show, a cult hit show from the '80s, is still here, and my sister podcast, Get Off My Lawn with Me, where we talk about life, the universe, and pretty much anything else. So, Gary, it has been fun, and all I can say is see you next time.